Hello everyone, welcome to the preview show delivered by FedEx. I'm your host Alan Cavana, back with me after hiatus from NBC
Excited to be
Sports.
here, baby.
Marty Snyder, it's good to have you back.
It's good to be back, and I am excited for these 2 weeks in Charlotte. You know, there are very few demarcation points in the season, but these 2 weeks in Charlotte, home week for everyone. And then after this, the real work begins. I always say the grind of the summer happens. So, but these are fun 2 weeks in Charlotte.
Yeah, and it's good to be Jeff Gordon right now because no one is heading into this All-Star race this weekend with more momentum than Jeff Gordon. He may not have had the fastest car out in Kansas, but he brought home the checkered flag. And oh, by the way, he's the point leader. Now, Marty, old four-time, says he feels like he's 25 years old again. 20 years now he's been winning races.
It's amazing.
What's going well for him this year, though, with all the changes to the cars?
You know, to me, I don't think anything is really that much different than last year in the chase. Now, if you look at last year in the regular season, they really struggled then. And it's funny, I've talked to Jeff Gordon and Alan Gufson a lot over that period of time. And they hit on something at the beginning of the chase last year. And to me, they've really just carried that momentum over into this season. Now, they've been the best car at Hendrick Motorsports this year. Overall, Jeff Gordon has been the car to beat at several races this year. They finally just capitalized on it. They've had the fastest car. You look at California, Richmond, all these different races where they've had the best car. They finally capitalized on it at Kansas. I know a lot of people don't think about Jeff Gordon as a potential champion, but they are a team to beat for the championship this year.
All right, another big story coming out of Kansas was Danica Patrick. When you're one of the sport's most popular names and drivers and you record a record best finish, you're going to get a mention here on the preview show.
As you should.
Yeah, Danica Patrick qualified in the top 10 in Kansas, ran there most of the day, was passing cars you don't see her pass normally, and she got a career best finish. Now, she still has to race her way into the All-Star race.
Right.
Charlotte, similar size, intermediate track to Kansas. Can this momentum carry on for her?
Well, I think to me there's really two questions there. Can it continue? The answer is yes. Will it continue? We'll have to see about that. To me, I look at her Kansas run as the biggest accomplishment so far in her career. And I had a lot of people, tweet me and text me after the race, say, well, what about Daytona 500 when she finished 8th? That's a much bigger race. But to me, this was such a different animal at Kansas. She has a lot more in her control, a lot more that she has to deal with in the race car versus a Daytona race. So I think this was by far the most impressive performance for her in her entire career. Can this continue? Sure, yeah. I think all of Hendrick Motorsports and any organization that Hendrick Motorsports touches is running much better in the last few weeks. But I think Charlotte's such a different animal. At Kansas, it's an extremely high grip racetrack. You mentioned they're both intermediate racetracks. That's true. But within intermediate racetracks, we now divided in high grip racetracks, medium grip tracks, and low grip tracks. And Charlotte's somewhere between medium and low grip. And it's just such a different animal. At Kansas, it was really one groove. Charlotte's going to have multiple grooves. There's going to be a lot less grip. I think the savvy of knowing how to manage a run, knowing how to be good at the end of a run, which has been a little bit of a struggle for Danica at times in her career, is going to come much more into play at Charlotte than it did at Kansas. I think those factors are going to make it tougher for her to finish in the top 10. But can she? Absolutely, because all of those teams are running way better in the last few weeks.
All right, see if she can carry on that momentum. But this leads us to this week's social pick of the week. There are good drivers who need to race their way into the All-Star race. So who is most likely to win the Sprint Showdown? Danica Patrick, Clint Boyer, or Kyle Larson? We want to hear from you. You can vote at NASCAR.com/social. Now, that's talking about the Sprint Showdown, Marty. I want to know.
There are a lot of good cars in the Showdown, by the way. A ton of good cars.
Ricky Stenhouse, a lot of drivers we didn't mention.
Fun to watch.
So, yeah, that's the Showdown. I want to know who's winning the whole thing, the whole $1 million. Who's winning the All-Star race?
I have, just thought about Brad Keselowski when I thought about who might win the All-Star race. Testing earlier at Charlotte this year, Brad Keselowski was by far, not even close, the fastest car. But I really feel like in the short format, they'll qualify well. They should be up front. I like Brad Keselowski to be a guy who gets back to victory lane. You think about the last official race at Charlotte. Brad Keselowski won that race. And I just think they have been so good on the 1.5 miles this year. Won it a 1.5 miles early this year. I'm going to go with Brad Keselowski to win the All-Star race.
I'm going with the guy who's been pretty much the man all year in terms of speed, Kevin Harvick. And we know Kevin Harvick. We know he's a good race car driver. We know he's aggressive. But I'm also picking this because of his crew chief, Rodney Childers. He was on Twitter late Monday night. This is after midnight. These are guys who work 18-hour days sometimes. He was still stewing about not winning that Kansas race, and he was saying how good of a car they have for the short run at the All-Star race. So I think they've had good luck on the good performance on their side all year. I think they're going to go out there
performance everywhere
and get the $1 million this weekend.
Not a bad payday, is it?
No, not at all.
And I love this format. Short race, a lot of fun at night. This is a great race for folks to watch.
Well, may the best man win. Marty Snyder, good to have you back.
Good seeing you, man.
All right, thank you for joining us here on the preview show delivered by FedEx. Have a good weekend, everybody.